to Anafram Market Perspectives.
Friday market recap. Broadcom shock, tariffs, and Mexico's rate cut. Welcome back to Anafram Market Perspectives. In the next few minutes, I will walk you through the S&P 500 weekly heat map, the latest developments in President Trump's tariff strategy, key economic data, including Mexico's rate cut, a look at futures and commodities, and an update on our watch list featuring the semiconductor ETF, Micron, and Accenture. S&P 500 weekly recap from the heat map. This week's heat map shows a market that held together but with uneven leadership. Megacap technology was mixed. Microsoft finished slightly positive, while Apple, Amazon, and Alphabet leaned lower. Communication services offered little support, keeping the tone across growth stocks cautious. Semiconductors were the main story. Nvidia and Micron both finished lower, while Broadcom delivered a sharp downside shock that dragged the entire chip complex with it. AMD also weakened, reinforcing the message that investors are stepping back from hardware exposure amid valuation and supply chain uncertainty. Oracle was another notable loser, reminding markets that enterprise software can still be punished when confidence fades. There were a few brighter spots. Tesla posted a strong gain, and select industrial and healthcare names showed resilience. Still, this was not a broad rally. Stock selection mattered far more than index exposure. Trump tariffs remained front and center this week, with messaging expanding further. President Trump announced a one-time $1,776 warrior dividend for roughly 1.5 million service members, directly linking the proposal to tariff revenue. This adds to a growing list of ideas for using tariff proceeds, including dividend-style payments and tax support. At the same time, tariff revenue is becoming less predictable. After duties were lifted on affordability-sensitive imports such as coffee, cocoa, and oranges, monthly collections declined, highlighting the trade-off between easing consumer pressure and maintaining revenue. Legal risk remains the biggest overhang. A pending Supreme Court decision could invalidate a large portion of recent tariffs and trigger refund claims. Several large firms, including Costco, have already filed lawsuits in anticipation of that outcome. Trade policy is also increasingly tied to technology policy. The administration approved limited NVIDIA chip sales to China, signaling that tariffs and export controls are being used together as negotiating tools. Policy headlines can change quickly, and markets are reacting in real time. Economic data released this week, global data painted a mixed picture. In China, fixed asset investment was weak, while industrial production improved but missed expectations. Japan showed steadier business sentiment and firmer exports. In Canada, inflation remained controlled. Headline CPI was modest on the month, core inflation held in the high twos, and housing starts surprised to the upside despite restrictive rates. In the United States, momentum cooled. Manufacturing surveys softened, labor data remained stable but unspectacular, and unemployment edged up to 4.6%. Inflation was encouraging, with headline CPI at 2.7% year-over-year and core at 2.6%. Mexico delivered an important signal by cutting its policy rate to 7%, confirming that the easing cycle is underway. In Europe, the Bank of England cut rates while the European Central Bank held steady. Futures, commodities, and volatility equity futures ended the week constructive. The S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and Russell 2000 finished higher, while the Dow was roughly flat. Volatility eased but remained elevated, with the VIX near 18. Oil was steady, gold firm, and Bitcoin held in the mid-80,000s. Bonus watch list update: the semiconductor ETF continues to consolidate, suggesting digestion rather than trend reversal. Micron remains under pressure as investors wait for clearer demand signals. Accenture looks more balanced, stabilizing as momentum improves modestly. Game plan. We end the week with softer inflation, easing signals from global central banks, and elevated policy risk tied to tariffs and legal uncertainty. Leadership remains narrow, semiconductors remain the key risk gauge, and Mexico's rate cut reinforces the global easing narrative. Stay selective, avoid chasing strength, and let price action confirm the next move.
Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe and share this with others. See you next time on Anafram Market Perspectives.